Welcome
to Film Shapes,
the podcast.
Do you have any experience in motion pictures?
Oh, yeah, quite a bit, actually. I have quite a bit of experience. I'm an active renter, and I attend the film, the cinema, as much as possible, weekly, bi-weekly, interweek.
Hello, and welcome to the second episode of You Mean You Haven't Seen? And this week, we're talking about Bowfinger from 1999. This is a comedy about the film industry, directed by Frank Oz and starring Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy. But first, it's hello to Roly.
Hello.
Hi, and hello to Ben.
Hello.
Now, first question, Roly. I hadn't seen this before. Why did you ask me to watch this film?
I just think it's a classic film. It's one of the films you, as a person that runs a film podcast, should see. It's a film about making a film, so there's a good reason in itself.
Okay.
And also,
it's kind of the Citizen Kane.
You can't forget to mention that it is written by Steve Martin. I think Steve Martin's fingerprints are all over this film in a lot of ways. And you know, I'm a fan, but maybe you're not. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty agnostic on Steve Martin, to be fair. I mean, there are a few things that he's done that made me really cackle. The Man with Two Brains was pretty good. There are moments in The Three Amigos, I think. I'm going back a long way here, but yeah, I don't know. He's never really jumped out at me, Steve Martin. Anyway, what do you think, Ben? You've seen this recently as well.
I have, yes. I think I saw it in the cinemas back in, I guess, '99.
Wow.
This is my first time watching it since then.
Mm-hmm.
I think on balance, I probably enjoyed it more when I was, a teenager than I did watching it as an adult. I still found it there was still some very funny things in it, and looking at it through the scope of, it being a farcical comedy. Which is not necessarily meant to be based in much of a degree of reality.
Yeah.
I found it engaging. I don't know, as a satire of Hollywood, I think it's relatively slight. It's not all that incisive, and it's kind of taking pretty easy surface pot shots and stuff. But then, I don't know, does the film have a responsibility to be any more incisive than that, or is it fine for it to be? Given that it is a farcical comedy, I think that it is sort of fine that it's fairly facile in its satire.
Do you think it would have been that way in 1999 as well? Would it have been a little bit more? What we think of as Hollywood now in 2020 is quite different to what people probably thought of Hollywood as in 1999. They probably thought some of the things this film brought up would have been news then.
This is something that I thought about when I was watching this. I didn't know much about this at all, and I think Mickey asked me, when was this made? And I said, I don't know, about 88, 87. That was my guess, because to me it reeked of 80s.
Well, it's hard with Steve Martin because he's had grey hair since he was 22.
Yes, right. And I suppose Eddie Murphy doesn't age much either, does he? So.
Eddie Murphy, no, he doesn't age much.
I don't know. It felt like a product of the 80s. That's what, when you were saying it in 1999. That's only 20 years ago. It's There were more cutting edge things going on in '99. It's not that long ago. It did seem like an 80s film to me. I don't know. I mean, that's good or bad. I'm not sure, but it seemed like it's stuck in time somewhere, this film.
Was there did you find anything? I'm gathering you didn't find the film super funny, but did you have any favourite moments from the film?
Okay, there are bits with Murphy until he does his double or triple character shtick. Up until there, I thought he was pretty good. Like the fact that, sure, it's a nice little wrinkle that he is going a bit potty, but I suppose you could look at it the other way, that it's a little bit nasty. They're picking on this kind of guy who's losing his mind a bit, So,
Yeah,
but but aside from that, some of the stuff he was doing was okay, I think.
I really like the implication that the voice inside of his head telling him to expose himself to the Laker girls is John F. Kennedy.
Yes, right, because he does a
yeah.
Kennedy accent, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some good stuff there.
We choose to show our penis not because it is soft, but because it is hard.
Is that what it was? Okay.
No, I don't think that's what the line was.
Okay, it's good. I don't remember.
Oh, that was your own take, Ben.
That was just me doing a bit of a riff, yeah.
No, I was just going to mention I did watch this on the weekend with my 11-year-old daughter, which was an interesting. But it's a fairly tame. Yeah,
I don't know,
she
man.
Didn't have too many questions for me.
Yeah, okay. That's when you told me that, I thought
I did have to explain. Yeah. I found myself. I was explaining at one point that he had a voice inside his head where he wanted to expose himself to the girls in this cheerleading team and things, and she's like, "Oh, okay." But and obviously it was all Scientology.
Yeah, that's a good angle. Yeah.
So I think I'm not sure when Tom Cruise came out with the Scientology thing, what was going on that level in 1999. But yeah, there's definitely Ed Murphy almost plays the Tom Cruise in this.
Yeah, I guess this predates all that stuff, doesn't it, by a few years?
I'm not sure. I should have done some research, but I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, okay.
But
I think it does.
Yeah. I was just going to mention, I think one of my favourite parts of this film was right in that first scene. And it's actually the reveal of the ponytail.
Oh.
Do you remember that? He's just looking like the Steve Martin, and at some point his things aren't going well, and he bends his head over at the table, and this ponytail's revealed, and you go, oh wow.
Oh, he snaps it. He pulls a card out of his pocket, and he's got the ponytail.
No, but then he pulls the ponytail off later. But when the ponytail first comes into shot, they hide the ponytail for like the first 5-10 minutes of that scene, and then there's one point
deliberate.
I thought it was a piece of genius. Yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
No, I didn't even
because
it doesn't consider that.
It doesn't come out until a certain moment, and then you just see it, and it's a moment where he hangs his head down in a kind of disappointment, and then and you realise the ponytail's there, and it just puts a different perspective on it.
Frank Oz has a background in puppetry, so I think that kind of visual gag would be well within his wheelhouse.
So who is this Frank Oz guy? I know nothing about him.
Well, he's Yoda, man. He's Yoda. He's Miss Piggy. He's Fozzie Bear.
The voice, or
well, no, he's of course, he's the voice. Yes, and he has. He's directed a few of the Muppet movies, I think, as well, with Jim Henson.
So he is puppeteering as well as being the voice in these cases, right?
Yeah, I imagine he does the puppetry as well. You get other people to do that, wouldn't you? I don't know. Ben, can you help us out?
I believe he does both. Maybe not at the same time.
Yeah.
But my understanding is that he is both the puppeteer and the voice of those characters.
Okay. He hasn't directed that many. He's acted in more things than directing, but he directed The Dark Crystal with Jim Henson. He's got a bit of a background with Steve Martin, Little Shop of Horrors, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and a film that I'd forgotten about with Ed Norton, De Niro, and Marlon Brando called The Score, which seems like a bit of a change of pace for Frank Oz. But, yeah, he's done a few things. But, I just think he's a bit of a soft peddler.
Which soft peddler?
The Indian in the Cupboard. He also did the very bad remake of Death at a Funeral.
Okay. Recently, wasn't that? 10 years ago or so? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's not much bite with him. It's kind of, I don't know. Maybe this is a Steve Martin and Frank Oz kind of issue with me, that there's nothing too edgy about these guys. Yeah, I don't know. No, you disagree, Roly?
It's hard to say. I think viewing it now and viewing it this time is definitely different to the last time, and I think that's going to be the case with a lot of these older films that we're doing, because yeah, and the pressure is on when I'm asking you to watch a film you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
You know, and then it doesn't blow you away, then it's like, well, that's my fault.
It is. Yeah, I blame you completely. It's not. It wasn't terrible. I'm not saying I hated it. I just thought it's an odd one that you picked for this first one. But no, I'm not. This is not a slapdown, Roly. This is fine. I'm happy to have watched it.
Save us, Ben. Please say something about the film.
You know, I think weirdly the thing that stood out to me the most watching the film this time was I actually kind of found it kind of heartwarming. Like, obviously, there's some, you know, pretty, as you pointed out earlier, some kind of nasty stuff in terms of how they're psychologically manipulating a person who is mentally unwell.
Yes, yeah.
But I don't know, there's something about the idea of these people who are clearly bad at what they're doing and are like bad at art and don't really have talent, who still want to create something. Like, they still have that spark of creativity within them. And I don't know, there's something comedically tragic, I suppose, but also in a way kind of beautiful, which is a weird word to use regarding this film, about, I don't know, yeah, people with a big dream just, you know, following it as far as they can. Kind of, I guess, sort of, yeah, in a way similar to like Tim Burton's film about Ed Wood.
Right, yeah.
But not quite as like good as that film is.
I think... Yeah, well, if we were to see it again now, though, maybe we'd feel differently. I know I feel differently about Johnny Depp these days, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the other thing, with this film, it really is about the power structure, and Hollywood's kind of the lens through which this power structure is viewed, isn't it? And all these people from the beginning are fighting against this bigger system that they're trying to get on top of, and the only way they can do that is by, you know, lying and being nasty and manipulative and not always nasty. I mean, Heather Graham does it in a kind of nice way, but she's using her own, you know, she's being manipulative in her own way.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of like the way that was handled, in that she, you know, obviously slept with virtually everybody in the film. Yeah. And like, you know, you see characters being kind of like emotionally upset by the fact that they realize that she has slept with another member of the crew. But then there's that conversation where like Steve Martin's like, hey, you slept with, you know, Eddie Murphy's character. And she's like, well, so? And he's like, well, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
I guess that's okay. But yeah, I think it's interesting to think that her and the Steve Martin character, they're doing the same thing. In a way, but she's kind of, in many ways, she's doing it more honestly than he is at the beginning. But, you know, all is forgiven at the end. It's kind of, I think that's what makes it more of a, you know, it's not a nasty film at all in that sense. It is kind of heartwarming if you look at it that way.
Yeah. Tell me, just what do you guys think about this little aside? What's the deal with Eddie Murphy playing multiple characters in lots of his films? Like Nutty Professor, Coming to America, he did it. Vampire in Brooklyn, Norbit, a couple others, I think. Why does he do this so often?
I don't know. Does he get paid per character? If he's like multiple like characters in the film,
yeah,
maybe that increases his remuneration or something. Probably not.
That's written into his contract, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just once you've done it once, that becomes something you can do, and you'll get hired on that basis, I think.
But people have to write it into their films that he's going to play 2 or 3 characters. I mean,
I guess you'd have. I mean, did Steve Martin write the film with Eddie Murphy in mind, or?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's not a new thing. It's Alec. Was it Alec Guinness that did it in? Oh, what's that film called?
Peter Sellers.
Oh, is it? Yeah, Peter Sellers does it a few times. There's old Ealing films where it's happening. So I don't know. Maybe it's a comedic thing, clearly, but he's got a bit of a habit, I suppose.
Once it's in your bag of tricks, I think you can expect more scripts to come your way requiring requiring your services on multiple
perhaps.
levels. What was interesting to see was to skip to the end of the film and the bit of a fight scene at the end after the recent Dolomite excursion we went on with Eddie Murphy, to see that he had actually developed his fighting skills in that style much earlier than the Dolomite film.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because he was using the same lame karate chops, almost exactly the same fight choreography at the end of this film as to what he does in Dolomite. If you look, back.
there is a bit of an echo though, isn't there? A lot of people trying to put on a film and they're not very good at it, and it's just and there's a preview, opening scene at the end where everyone goes into the cinema. So, I was thinking of Dolomite whilst watching this one. So, yeah.
I had one question for you, Shady, because they brought it up in the film. I'm not sure if it's a real thing. Cinema Nouveau?
I hadn't heard that before. Ben?
I don't know that exact term has been used, but certainly new cinema, new German cinema was a movement in Germany in the 60s. And it's kind of similar to Nouvelle Vague, and it's in the ballpark of a real term, but I don't know that exact term is common.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty close to just guerrilla filmmaking, isn't it? I suppose, just sort of doing things without permission. And I mean, there's a point where a cop tries to bust him, and he just gets him in on the film as well. So, I guess it's something that he made up, but is that the Cinema Nouveau, just doing shit without anyone's permission? Maybe.
I think it'd be interesting to take this concept, and if someone were to make a film as realistically as possible, because of course this film is ridiculous and not real at all, but could you present it in a way that had a modern audience believing that it was possible to build a film with a well-known actor in this way, by following them around and using long lenses?
Yeah, well, I don't know that
into the scene.
That exact thing has been attempted. There was a film a few years ago, I can't remember the title of it off the top of my head, but it was surreptitiously filmed in Disneyland. And so...
yes. I read something about this recently, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously that's not stalking a specific person, but it's kind of, I guess, in the same ballpark. I was also thinking, I wonder if Jamie Kennedy got the idea for the Jamie Kennedy experiment, which is a hidden camera prank show that he did a couple of years after this movie, from this movie.
Who's Jamie Kennedy?
He plays the guy that works at the film studio who's borrowing the cars and cameras and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
Okay. I thought I'd seen him before, but then I thought I was mixing him up with that kid from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Do you know the?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Seth
guy.
Green.
That's him. That's him.
Probably know him from Scream, where he plays the film nerd who knows all the rules of slasher movies.
I haven't seen Scream, but okay. So he's been around a bit, that guy.
That's another one for this podcast.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. Oh, okay. So he had something similar. Maybe he took his ideas from this. Well, that's pretty meta, isn't it? I guess. Yeah, right. I mean, so Roly, what you're advocating is that somebody go out and try and do this in a realistic sort of fashion. Without getting the permission of, I don't know, Will Smith or someone like that.
Well, no, even to present it fictionally, in a way that made it, that took the audience along for the ride, that believed, where your suspension of disbelief stayed intact. Unlike with this film, where it's there's many times in this film where you end up going, well, that would never happen.
Well, okay, hang on. So you're suggesting somebody tries to make a film that fools the audience as well?
No, I don't think. No,
I think it just means more that because there's a lot of stuff in this film, given its comedic nature, that strains credulity. There are so many times where things happen where it's just well, that obviously wouldn't fool anyone.
Yeah, Ben understands.
A reboot of this film where it was actually credible or believable that they were.
A reboot. Okay. That's what I'm after. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we need a reboot. I don't know. I mean, you could do it in a mockumentary style if that's what you. No, I know what you're angling. You're trying to see if they can do this, but make everything that happens in the film quite believable.
Yeah,
So it's not a comedy. It'll be something else.
Oh, it would still be a comedy.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, it
I don't know.
depends.
You could
how you wrote
make
the
it
film.
pretty dark. Like,
Yeah.
You could, yeah. It would be a black comedy.
yeah.
I think you'd really struggle to get it seen because the person who's being manipulated would certainly not sign off on it, right? Am I being too
They're
fussy?
not a real person. You're not following.
No, that
what
isn't.
I'm trying- No,
It is. You're suggesting they follow a real person.
Ben. I think Ben and I are on the same page
Yeah,
with
no,
this.
I get what you're saying.
Who are you following?
An actor,
It's an actor.
a
It doesn't
fictional
matter.
character in a fictional film.
Oh, it's not a. You're not going to just pick,
It-
I don't know, Tom Cruise and follow him around.
No, it's still a
real
yeah.
life.
So he knows what's happening.
Yeah, the
he's an actor. He's
playing
being
the
paid.
character of the actor. Yes.
Ah, now you're getting too deep. I think you just want to try it. No. So I think we're on the wrong page here. I was thinking you want to try and see if it'd work with a real actor who doesn't know they're being followed.
I regret choosing this film. What can I say?
Yeah. Okay, I think I'm with you now. Just remake the fucking movie. Is that what you're saying? Just remake it.
Yes.
Yeah, remake. Like we said, a reboot, a remake. Exactly. But maybe the alien invasion film idea was where the credibility went.
Yeah, I mean, it started out ridiculous anyway, that it was a bad script.
I felt like, I wanted it to be an actual good script, a real good script,
Yeah,
instead of Chubby Rain. Or whatever.
Yes, come on.
Chubby
And the
Rain
fact that Murphy's character was there he was there at the opening and he was quite happy to be there. I mean, please. Yeah, again, I mean that's straining the bounds of belief, isn't it? But
well, he was being blackmailed, so
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
But also, again, like it's like I don't know, kind of it's like criticizing a Jerry Lewis movie for being a bit silly. Like
Yes, it's all film, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
true.
I still got to hand it to Steve Martin. I think he's such a multi-talented, hard-working guy. Like, there's not a lot of holes in the script. It's ridiculous and all the rest, but he does weave it very well, I think. And the performances are ridiculous again. And,
He's a pro.
Yeah, you can't knock him for being unprofessional.
What's your favourite Steve Martin film then? Roll if you dig the man. Got on the spot.
I haven't seen it in a long
I'm
time.
coming to you, Ben.
But I was a big fan of Roxanne.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like Cyrano de Bergerac story where he's got like a giant nose.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the one where he's blind and he's I never remember the name of the film. Is he blind and he's been brought up by a black family and he thinks he's black?
Oh, is that the jerk?
Yeah, the jerk. I didn't know that he was blind, but the jerk is the one where he's raised by a black family and then like
I thought he was blind and that's why he didn't think that he was.
He's not blind in that one, but I think that's. Yeah, is that it?
Yeah,
we're
it's the
fishing
jerk,
here,
yeah.
aren't we? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember the man with two brains as being very funny, but I'd have to rewatch it.
But had you asked this before today, I would have said Bowfinger. But in just talking about it like this, I'm losing interest.
It's dropped down your list. Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Well, guys, that's probably a wrap, I think, for today. It's enough of Bowfinger, thank you. When this film confused my wife, and I said we were going to watch Bowfinger. She said, "Is that one of the first Bond films?" And I thought, "Oh no, I think you misheard. I think you misheard me."
Goldfinger, Bowfinger.
There we go. Yeah, it was good of her to get that, though. I thought.
Great.
Bowfinger. It's all good. What's next time, Roly? What are we doing?
Where did we land on?
You've forgotten, haven't you?
It's another Martin. No, it's another Steve. No, what is it?
I think it's going to be
Martin.
Point. No,
Yeah,
it's not fucking. It's Point. Don't say break. Point Blank.
With
Lee Marvin.
Marvin.
Is that what you got
Not a
mixed up
Martin.
with? Yeah.
It's a Marvin.
Yeah. So the original 67, I think. And is it an original? Well, we'll find out. Okay, well, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Roly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye then.
Bye.
Welcome aboard. Here's your wardrobe.